Well, good morning, good afternoon, and or good evening, SMITE fans. Welcome back to Week 3, day number 3 of the SCC EU side of things. I'm Supersonic Blur, and we've got our last two-team matchup here. It's Niflheim Wargs and the Olympus Bolts. A statement game coming through for the Niflheim Wargs here. Seeded to be probably the second best team. They really want to try and win this one. And Olympus Bolts, on the other hand, still looking for their first win here. So if they can win against the Niflheim Wargs, well, it's certainly a good look for them. Joining me to go ahead and break this one down, I have AJ, who, fun fact, that's the first person who ever gave me a casting job. So it's good to see you here.
Yeah, it's great to be here. It's good to see how far you've actually come since, the former EGL days. It's good to see you, being here where you belong. You've come along so far. As of these teams, I mean, Rapio on the Niflheim Wargs, he's shown tremendous growth over the years, coming from that former rival console team all the way into the SCC, and has proven himself to be a mainstay player here in Europe.
And hopefully, like you said, it's great to see how far I've come for those things. Let's see whether or not these two teams can show they are deserving of being here in this spot. We got picks and bans for game number 1 between these two teams. And over the course of sort of this meta that's developed, we've been seeing sort of double hunters being flirted with. Both these teams have kind of played that one out. The Neath is a first ban here. Bolts have played this before, and I was going to ask, do you think these change up the bans at all?
I think with Deathbringer and Crit in general getting a bit nerfed, and Mages getting a tiny bit hurt, that you're going to start seeing a little bit more focus on those ability-based hunters. So your gods like your Neath are going to be picked up a little bit more. AMC is going to be picked up a little bit more. I mean, obviously, Marty is being top pick, top banned anyway, so he's just going to skyrocket in value there. So I do think that it is going to start leaning towards that playstyle a bit more, which benefits the Bolts.
It has done in the past for them. We can see the Wargs already trying to focus that out. The Saket, another one who's been great in the jungle, with the change towards her getting crit now. Vamon, still fantastic flex potential here. Bolt's still looking for that last pick. And I'm concerned because I'm thinking there's Hercules, Guan Yu, Aphrodite, Marticora still available.
Oh, don't
and they'll ban away the Hercules here.
Don't mention Afro. Everyone's already having nightmares about how strong she can be in the sport role. But it's going to be the Marticora's first pick, and I do not blame them whatsoever. I think Marticora stands head and shoulders above the next best ADC right now, which I would say still probably is Kernanos, given how strong his clear can be, his boxing potential can be. But Ishtar still has some claim to that third spot.
Well, with Guan Yu locked in for the Bolts, they've still got their next pick as well. And like you said, if they do want to run this double hunter comp, then there's some options they can go for. Seems like they're going to agree with you here, though, and that Kernanos pick up. And they do go ahead and lock that one in. So a solid look here for their start of the draft, Guan Yu and Kernanos. Every time I see these two, the first two words that pop through my head is team fight potential. Well, that's 3 words, but you know what I mean. One of them's hyphenated.
Put a hyphen in there. There we go. And then they can along the same page. There we go. But I see Guan Yu, I see Kernanos, and I think Prot Shred myself. Televisort takes away logic. Physical Prot, Kernanos has the potential to do that as well in his autumn stance. So you're going to go onto these objectives as physical damage dealers, especially for a second hunter. They're just going to burn and melt so quickly.
And now with the Thor Aphrodite combo coming through, we're going to have to talk about Aphrodite at some point. She's been picked up in the game, and a Thor to follow up. Usually it's the Susano for the jungle side of things when you're thinking someone who dives and bursts, but Thor certainly has good potential for it. And with that global rotation coming through from the ultimate, there is a lot of damage output. And the Bolts will go ahead and round out their top 3 with the Merlin here.
Merlin seems to be having a bit of a renaissance in mid, and now that's sort of the dive and kill potential on the mid laners has waned since beginning of Season 10. Mid laners have figured out the meta, figured out the rotations, are a lot more safe to play, which is why you are starting to see sort of like the Merlin being picked up again. The Hebo mids are starting to come out a lot more, but that's just Hebo's really, really strong. So I don't mind this again from the Bolts. They picked a solid composition which plays to their strengths. They're gods that they've picked up time and time again, and they're sort of top of the meta in their own respective roles.
And it's not exactly an easy one to necessarily ban away. The Merlin usually gets banned away second phase. It's like Merlin Agni if you haven't got a mid laner. But looking at this, Bolts do believe this Martichorus is going to be mid. So Izanami, Ishtar taken off the table. Fenrir and Nox removed here. And oddly enough, I feel like both of those could just be support bans.
I think they are. Impox plays very off-meta support. So not to say that Nox is off-meta right now. We see time and time again in SPL, but it's not one of the ones that immediately pops into your head. And Guardian pick like Maui is picked up here for Impox. Though, again, targeted bans here by the Wargs. They've done their research. They've done their homework.
And with that, hopefully now Wargs are looking to go ahead and round out their draft. They're looking for a hunter and a solo laner, unless they want to go for some major flex. And it looks like they might be using that flex potential here. The Marty may be going into the duo lane here. So it's a Yu Huang mid. And we've talked a lot about, well, you specifically talked about how Marty's great in the mid lane. Does that translate to the duo lane particularly well?
Yeah, he's still probably the top pick you can get for the dual lane. Pairing that up with a Horus. This is a very aggressive dual lane here from the Niflheim Wargs. You've got the dash-in stun from the Horus, plus the root from the Marty, the burst potential that comes from using those two abilities together, and then also the knockup from the Horus. You probably are going to get a kill at level 2, level 3 if you hit that combo 2 times.
Interesting. So you think we could be seeing some flex with the Afro going solo then?
We could potentially. It's not the worst idea in the world. I would love to see the aggressive dual lane, but like you mentioned, Aphrodite probably is going to go into the support role. The Horus has flexed into the solo lane before. Connor, I know he likes that pick a fair bit. I'm just wishful thinking here. You know, I've had enough seeing Aphrodite in my lane.
Understandable. With the Bakasura rounding out for the bolts here, looks like they're going to want to go ahead for that hyper farm to the late game with this Bakasura. I just wonder whether or not they're going to be able to get there, because I look at this late game comp from the Wargs and Afro, Horus. I feel like those two are going to just be able to control this Baka too well.
I have a look at the bolts composition and I see almost a lack of peel coming up for the Kernos and the Merlin. They're going to have to peel for themselves, really. I mean, the Guan Yu's going to be diving in the backline most often than not. Maui, apart from his ultimate, doesn't really provide too much in the way of peel. And the Bakasura is going to be diving along with the Guan Yu, so the Merlin and the Kernos are hung out to dry against this Thor.
They may very well be. Let's see whether or not that's going to be the case as we go ahead and get on into Game 1 between the Niflheim Wargs and the Olympus Bolts here. Both these two teams, as I mentioned, looking to try and make a statement here with a win. And so far, draft-wise, like you said, I love the Niflheim Wargs. And while there's not a lack of peel for the Bolts, the dive potential from the Wargs makes that, it kind of hammers that point twice as hard.
Yeah, I mean, Rapio has been known to be playing this Thor week in, week out. It's probably one of his top picks, I would say here, for the Niflheim Wargs across history. If you ask me what a pick for Rapio would be, it would be this pick. And he's just got it yet again.
And so far, we're seeing it is going to be that Aphrodite in the duo lane. So unfortunately, no such luck. Connor is going to be taking that option away from here. Interesting here. I like this change up in the start. Usually it's the jungler who does the speed buff and then rotates to the red buff. But this time Rapio is going to be the one who gets that extra farm.
Yeah, I like it. Get Rapio up early to level 5 as quickly as possible. Get access to that Anvil of Dawn as quickly as possible. Allow Rapio to gank as quickly as possible. It's all about just facilitating that hyper-focus to get to that ganking stage of the jungler.
And if that is going to be the case, then where are you looking at? Maybe they're going to rotate. It would be the duo lane, or we'd have to focus this mid lane. Whereabouts you are reckoning that Rapio would be turning that ire?
Well, I don't think he's going to gank the Guan Yu, even though the Guan Yu has been poked out a fair bit already. If it goes on the Merlin, has to wait for the Merlin to have everything down, and he has got everything down. That is a quick first blood.
Very nice work there from Rapio. Goes ahead and pops out the Horn Shard. Going for that aggressive play there. Extra damage, extra bit of sustain. And like you said, absolutely great play from Rapio. And now with that first blood down, he's free to roam and dome.
I thought he was going to go over to the dual lane, given that Jokin is probably the best target, given that he doesn't have a jump, so can't get over the wall once it's down. And we're going to put that into play here. Look who's rotated.
Nice dash in. The stun is there. The body blocks are just better. And that gives Davey a kill with the tick damage. So much early aggression already for the Wargs. I mentioned this is a statement game for them. They are swinging for the fences. It's 2 minutes and already 2 kills.
Yeah, don't give Rapio Thor. I mean, this is probably the one lesson that you learn from this game. There's a reason it's been banned against him consistently. There's a reason teams don't give it to him when Thor is better. It's this reason. He plays well on it.
It's looking to be that way already. I wanted to mention, just from that side of things, as we take a quick peek, Sega, like you mentioned, getting very low versus Connor here. But maybe a dash in? No dash in for now. Is that Impoc has the Sunder very early on. It feels aggressive, so being able to punish that could be a problem. And oh my goodness, Sega.
This is what I'm saying. Connor likes this pick. It's very aggressive. It translates from the dual lane to the solo lane quite well. Or jungler fight? No.
Maybe a jungler fight, but Sega's TPing back on in, so we'll go ahead and drop that one. But rotation times, looking to try and steal away an invade, but it's so difficult to invade against a Bakasura with that 8-second eat minion.
I think if Rapio was level 5 at that point, he backs away, then ults to go back in. Double buff invade coming along as well. Successful for the Niflheim Wargs. But once again, they're just able to get pressure onto both side lanes. And that's going to spell doom for Port in mid lane as well, as he's going to have to play a lot more defensively than he would really like to.
It's already that 3 minutes in, every minute is 500 extra gold Niflheim Wargs have been able to find in their pockets so far, or near enough to that extent. But with those invades going as well, stripping those buffs, it just feels so difficult for Olympus Bolts to do anything. Is this just because it's a Bakasura in the jungle?
I'm not sure if it's just the fact that it's a Bakasura in the jungle, but as you probably are well aware, Bakasura is focused on items rather than experience. He needs to hit level 5, obviously, but the second he hits level 5, it's all about what items he has. If he has more items, he's more effective. And right now, he's at his weakest point in the game. He's just at level 5, so his ultimate is, it's still rank 1, he only has rank 2 Butcher's Blades. He's only got one item in the Golden Blade, which is used for farming rather than for killing. It's a point where the Olympus Bolts have to just stay patient. As good steal comes out... No, I thought it was a steal. Sorry.
Nah, we were both looking at that thinking it was a steal, and as soon as no one immediately picks up the buff. But no such luck there. But that's another point I wanted to mention. Usually, these junglers we've been seeing love going for this sort of mini objective in gold buff. It's a nice bit of extra farm for them. Both Rapio and Hedges haven't been over this side. They've been more listing through the jungle, grabbing as much farm as they can. Is that a play style difference, or just didn't feel the need to rotate?
I think it's just you don't feel the need to rotate. Your support and your mid laner most likely will have that camp on lockdown. The only time the jungler will really go over there is if he's on his way to gank dual lane. If he doesn't need to go over there to get the camp, he's not going to gank dual lane, so he's going to be over here on the solo lane most of the time. That's what we have seen. Major focus by both Rapio and Hedgehog over on this solo side of the game. And that's just meant that Connor can get away with going a very aggressive build to begin with, although he's going to be ganked here.
He could be, but Hedgehog actually backs away from it when they see Rapio come over the ward. Rapio will deter that one, and now it's a blink on forward. Rapio falls straight into the ultimate, doesn't panic.
He's
drops that one down, but there's into the skies as well. Preds is here as well. Hedgehogs might be all left alone 1v3, but jumps over the wall. Rapio's there to TP around behind them, but the movement speed might be enough for Hedgehogs to get away. He'll eat a minion, and now that Sega's here, they may be able to back off. They still want that kill, though.
No, what they want is they want this blue buff. That was the entire point of that fight, was getting the blue buff, and there it is. Angry pings potentially coming out there. As Port's still over in the middle. I think it's just going to be where he said he was going Yokin, going aggressive on Dave, because Impox is rotating over here as well.
No such luck on the ultimate, though. They will drive away. The point of you do not get to take a second health buff or shield buff in this instance. And now Rapio's been over here. Important to note, they've gone for the Transcendence here. Whenever I see Transcendence in the jungle, that screams to me pure farming, but Rapio's still looking for fights.
You get most of your stacks from the camps, but if you're able to gank and get some stacks with kills as well, you just accelerate your farm even more. It's a win-win situation, I feel. If you're going to get the Transcendence, you're forcing yourself to gank more rather than farm more, which is a bit counterintuitive, but at the end of the day, if you're successful in your ganks, it pays off.
Hopefully it will pay off for them. We've been seeing a lot of sort of high power builds come through with a lot of high penetration. Even after the penetration nerfs, it still feels pretty nice to be able to have that. And Rapio's certainly comfortable in this god, as you've mentioned. But 6 minutes in, and it's only been those 2 kills. And I feel like that's credit to the Olympus Bolts, not for lack of trying from the Niflheim Wargs. They've kind of cooled the jets from Wargs' aggression.
I think so, and I think that is a good point from them. I mean, it threatened to be almost a blowout when Rapio got 2 excellent early game ganks. He got 2 assists on him. In the early game, we were, what, 2.5k up within 3 minutes? It threatened to be a blowout. This could be a blowout of a kill as well, as they're on the cripple field, and Connor is gone.
Beautiful work, and as you said, that cripple field, so instrumental, and that's the first kill for this Bakasura, and that's always in the back of their mind now of Baka might be starting to come online.
He's going for crit as well, so interesting to see which crit item he goes for, given that all of them have been nerfed apart from Rage. I still think Rage is a fantastic pickup, personally. Gives you a lot of power, a lot of crit chance on your build. Yes, it doesn't give you attack speed or anything special with your crits, but it just gives you so much ability to crit afterwards.
Yeah, and as you said, that 45% crit chance means you don't have to worry about going 3.5 crit items. You can, it doesn't give you attack speed, doesn't give you power. Okay, you freed up an item slot to go for those other items. So maybe we'll see it. We'll have to keep an eye when they get the funds to be able to finish that. For now, the blue buff had sort of spawned, and unfortunately this time Niflheim Wargs will not be available to invade it. But Sega knows that there might be members lurking in the jungle, so they've kind of been sat very far off this tower, not very far off this tower line for a large portion of the game.
We're just seeing a little bit of more farm focus come out from both teams here, and that's benefiting the Olympus Bolts. If we have a look at the graphs, you can actually see they're catching up more and more now. Lead at one point, as I said, was 2,500. It's now down to about 1,000. That XP difference is completely even as well, and that's exactly what you want to see if you are a fan of the red team.
It's not going bad for them, but Jokin goes ahead and tries to ult for this buff. That will be called out, and that's a good defensive tool for the Olympus Bolts gone. Should Rapio look to try and invade here, but we'll go ahead and take a fight. But right now, Sega just getting a bit aggressive over this side of the map. If Hedgehog does make a way over, that will be warded out. So instead, they're going to go mid. And so far, it is just a farming game. We're back to the good old EU days of no one wanting to fight too excessively.
Yeah, that is 100% what EU was remembered for back in the day. It was calm, calculated, aggressive play from Rapio.
It's already a good look. Landed. As soon as I said they're not looking to fight over anything excessively, it's the punish there. Just nice work from the rotation through that ult.
Gold Fury.
Straight on down. Doesn't land it. And now with that pick, it's a Gold Fury potential for them. No one from the Olympus Bolts is even going to be able to stop this because their front line is gone.
And there we go. Gold Fury, the first one of the game, goes the way of the Niflheim Wargs, and they open themselves up to just shy of 2,000 gold lead again, bringing themselves back up to where they were before the little lull in action from the Olympus Bolts was caused. But over on this right-hand side, they could be going for a counter-objective here. Pyromans are just spawning, and they're going to commit here with the Bakasura ult.
Big work there, but because that Gold Fury, I was going to say, because that was down before it spawned, Preds would make the rotation. Unfortunately, just not there soon enough. But that said, interesting option here from Preds. It looks like they may be going for both the Prophetic Cloak and the Gauntlet of Thieves here, as Davey looking to punish out Jokin. Needs one more basic and we'll find it under the tower. Great aggression here, but now they're a little high, but no one's over this side of the map. They're looking at solo lane.
Again, it has to be all the ganks on the solo lane. I don't know. Junglers, can you explain it to me? The solo laner is tanky, is building defense, is difficult to kill, has CC. The hunter, squishy. Most of the time doesn't have an escape and will be fighting your other hunter who also does damage. Which one do you prefer to gank? I'll prefer to bash my head against a brick wall, apparently. Explain,
I can't even say it's because speed buff is close to blue buff anymore, because there's two of them on the map.
Exactly!
Oh, that's just rude. Blink on in and eat the minion. Nice little invade there. Gunter frustratedly ults to try and seek some recompense for it, but unfortunately finds Diddly Squit there. And back to that point, Preds, very tanky build right now, but that just feels like it's going to take even longer for them to come online, as it were.
I don't mind the fact that Preds has gone this tankier build. Because what does Aphrodite do here in this situation, apart from ult after he gets rooted? I mean, at full health, there's no real reason to panic there. 10% CDL, we'll have that ult back up online quite soon. Aphrodite's Kiss is going to give protections to your soulmate. So what do you want? You want as many protections as possible, as quickly as possible, which is why you see this build come out.
Ah, very true, very true.
And
now we're going to see here, potential look from the Thor dunk in. That said, the wall is only going to go ahead and grab the Maui, but Solar Swing should be getting them out of here. They'll sit up there as long as they can to wait out as much cooldown, and there may be a rotation coming in from iPort, but it's been pinged out, and they'll go ahead and dip on back to farm as the fight kind of fades out.
Have you felt the presence come out self-offense mid laner?
Whoa, I don't know, but I'm feeling the presence of this Maui, two-man Solar Swing, but it's not good enough. Davey just goes up into the Venomous Rain, and so will grab themselves a double kill. Now we'll see if Bakasura can do anything to these three. They'll force away some, but it's not good enough. Merlin's secondary rotation comes through, and Rapio finds themselves low, but now iPort's left 1v3, beats Aegis, being used to buy as much time for this Merlin as they can, but Hedgehog's gone. They're looking for a rotation round the back, but all this time it's just taking so much longer. Yeah, Merlin just left on their own.
Well, I was about to ask, do we feel like there's been any impact so far from iPort? We haven't really talked about him too much. He's been stuck in mid lane, farming up as much as possible, hasn't got any form of lead on Gunter, has made a rotation there, and has come up trumps. Just not been able to get anything, done with that rotation. Rotated maybe a little bit too late. Hedgehog was a bit more committal than he probably should have been, waiting for iPort first. It looked a little bit disjointed there from the Olympus bolts.
Like the gears were almost meshing. The idea of let's have two people come back in and punish the rotation, but then they kind of exploded the moment they came into contact.
Oh, I would like to see a little bit more coming out from iPort and a little bit more coming out from Impox here as well. These two have been a little bit quiet, I would say, so far in this game. But you can see by the levels, 4 levels down already on the Maui. Well, Rapid is going to land back down where he took off from, nobody in range. But you pick this Maui to be an aggressive frontline pick to engage and pick people off and block off corridors. And we've not seen that yet at all.
We have not, and we've not even seen any defense attempt at any kind of Gold Fury. Finally, Import goes ahead and makes the rotation in. Gunter is here as well as Sega, so it is going to be a full 5-man fight. Cavalry charge forces some ults, and a big landfall comes up, but unfortunately the Afro is already in the backline. Meanwhile, Gunter takes down this Merlin, and Davies leading the charge. Rapio credited with the second kill of this engagement, and it's all fallen apart for the Olympus Bolts. Downfalls their front line, downfalls the second front line. It's the double of doubles, and they're not even, Wargs don't even care about this Fury. They are taking the taxi straight to the Fire Giant.
I love that play. I love that use of Across the Skies from Loris. I just love that team fight in general there for the Niflheim Wargs. They were calm. They did exactly what I said they were going to do in pre-game as well. They ignored the frontline dive from Sega and from Hedgehog. They immediately went onto Port and Yokin. And who was there to appeal for them? Nobody. The landfall was used aggressively. The Niflheim Wargs had a free pass at an entire fight. Hedgehog, dead.
No luck. I love the fact, though, that Niflheim Wargs said, don't risk it. Like, we can outburst him. No. CC, dead. Now we get fire. That is a 15-minute Fire Giant, by the way, folks. Just want to reiterate, 15-minute Fire Giant. Don't try that in your ranked games. It may not go quite so well, but hey, maybe it'll also get you a 7,500 gold lead here at 15.5 minutes in.
We said at the beginning of the game that Niflheim Wargs were looking for a statement win. This, so far, is a statement win. If they manage to close this game off in the next 5 minutes, it is scary looking for the rest of the SCC, and maybe even turn the head a little bit of Hex Mambo, the team that everybody wants to go ahead and beat. They'll have to sit up and take notes of this performance if it goes the way that it's going.
Now we're going back to the Oni Fury, this time with a Fire Giant in tow. It doesn't look like Olympus Bolts even have the ability to want to step up. Their keyboards just will not let them head that way. Instead, now it's just pushing out as much of the waves as they can, because with both mid and duo tier 1 towers gone, it's scary enough to say. Tier 2 and maybe Phoenix looks at here.
They have to stay back and farm. They can't go and contest any objective. The second that they get this tower, it'll almost be 10,000 gold in the lead. And at that point, you have to hope that the enemy team makes a mistake before you can fight. That's before you even talk about it being 16 minutes in, I think. Oh,
They're going straight to the Phoenix. They're not letting anyone back. They're just used through the skies again. Out comes a runic bomb to 1,500 damage. The Phoenix hasn't taken as much damage as they'd hoped. A huge landfall pulls 3 members back on through. It's all gone wrong for the Wargs on this siege here. They go just a bit too aggressive, and the Olympus bolts find some time to come in. But Rapio lands on down and turns the fight for them. 2 members gone, and with a lot of damage output. Even though the health bars are in the red, they are not down, and they will turn it around for 4 for none and this Phoenix.
I don't think they can end here. They're just going to stay back. Oh, wait, teleport comes in. Maybe they can actually. 17 they surely can't.
No.
Sure.
No, I put still up. They'll back it up. They will back it up. But I like that thought from Niflheim Wargs. They are constantly thinking, what's the biggest thing we can get on the map? Not can we get what's closest, the biggest.
Exactly. That is something which I preached back in the days when I was coach. You always think 3 minutes ahead. Okay, if we do this, what do we do in the next objective? What's the next objective after that? Can we plan out what the next, even if it's just the next minute, try and plan that out as best as possible. I'm going to go do this camp, and then we're going to group up and do this objective, okay? Everyone's set on the same page. Everyone knows exactly what they're doing. You adapt that on the fly a little bit, obviously. And that's what they've done there. They all agreed that they were going to go to left Phoenix, get that Phoenix, and then see what happens from there. And they've been rewarded for it here, consistently. And the Olympus bolts, credit to them, great defense initially, just didn't have an answer for when it was a full 5 versus 5.
It's unfortunate for them. I almost feel like, again, that big landfall. I got hyped for it. I'm like, oh my god, there's a 3-man landfall. That's huge! We can win a fight! Hang on, we're still 7.5k down. They still have Fire Giant. We still need farm. Let's just take that as a small win, as now the last tier 2 tower will end up falling, pushing this to quite a substantial gold lead now at 12,000. And as we saw with most of them backing, that's not they've got most of that gold in hand. That's translated pretty much all to a 12,000 gold lead.
Thing is, you think to yourself, oh, I got myself a 5-man landfall, 3-man landfall. Great, I've done my job as a support. What is my team doing? Why are they still alive? That's what you think about. Like you say, well, it's not my fault we didn't win that fight. I did my job.
Yeah, it's the old adage of Slowbeck plucking your members back in, as Sega very quickly dealt with there on a defense, or even just a peek at the Fire Giant. But it's that idea of, yeah, Slowbeck plucked. What do you mean you didn't kill them? What do you mean they're 4 levels ahead of you? How did you not just kill them? Same idea, but multiplied by a magnitude of like 3, as Fire Giant is being started up by the Wargs here. They've got Rapio up in the sky to see where they are, as Preds is currently off out dealing with 1. Rapio actually drops away because they've realized they've got enough damage. They've spotted it out. And so Rapio just goes and starts Pyromancer.
Yeah, it's just efficiency on all the objectives where possible. Just make sure you're getting everything as quickly as you can. They're going to think, because when they hear that initial pyro thing, they're going to go, oh, they just got pyro, that's fine. Then a few seconds later, fire. Hang on, they were doing both? Hello, guys?
Meanwhile, Preds, the best gas in the tank for everyone, is off dealing with left side, getting a couple of prophetic stacks. It feels like Niflheim Wargs can just do no wrong with this game.
I feel like if Preds walked up to them, the whole of Olympus bolts, he would probably get 2 or 3 kills before he died right now. That's with him having 0 power.
But a boatload of defense and a boatload of levels. They're level 18! They're the same level as your jungler in mid lane!
Yeah, it's, this is the type of game where if you're Olympus bolts, you talk about game 2 already. You think, what's gone wrong this game? It's most likely the draft. I think we changed the draft, and then we implement that for game number 2.
Oh no, it looks like a pickoff might be going the way. Davey does get into the ultimate, but they will not be the one who gets the kill. Jockin finds their way back to the grey screen. Sega just trying to cause as much of a distraction as possible, but unfortunately, Niflheim Wargs sniff out the right thing to do, and that is go down the right lane.
Well, I'd like to point out just so far that Connor has proven exactly how valuable a Horus can be this entire game. I think his ults, whilst not been pivotal, have just accelerated this entire snowball that Niflheim Wargs have had. And they're going to be rewarded here with a second Phoenix. The other one has respawned mine. That is weakened. It should be very easy for them to go in and grab that.
We'll see whether or not they do so. They're making their way through the mid lane, and Olympus Bolts will watch as that happens, and everyone kind of glued into their Phoenixes now to try and hold for a defense. And you mentioned that idea of just right now, it's the across the skies causing problems. I'm wondering whether or not we do see them try and pull minions in, but instead they're just going to try and brute force this one now. Landfall grabs a couple, but only really hits the Aphrodite ult.
Oh,
unfortunately, no such luck. And now minions coming through. Hedgehog's looking for a loop around the back. It's a good fight so far for the bolts as they'll push members away. Connor throws up into the skies,
There's
but
one.
Prince ends up falling first. iPort credited with a kill. Gunter turns around on Sega as Davey, very far forward, might be in trouble here because Hedgehog blinks on through, but never mind, it's a double kill. Triple kill now for Gunter, and that might just end up the game here. Rapio finds another. It's once again a situation where just this Merlin is left alive. Rapio blocks it out, lands on down, and that's the second Phoenix gone. They'll strip all three at this point.
That will be the third Phoenix gone as well. The weakened one going to be taken down very easily, and they could very simply just end the game here. 5 minions are on their way on that right-hand side. They want iPort. They're not going to get iPort. The Titan is going to be under attack by the minions. Respawn timer of 8 seconds on Yokin. I think they may have to back up here.
They are going to go ahead and call it back, so they will go ahead. They've broken the base at the very least, and they realize while we could try for the Titan, they don't want to overestimate their damage potential. So instead, give themselves the room to breathe and give Olympus bolts a little bit of time for one last dying gasp. So they'll chase out these last two here. Gunter chased on down, CC'd in place, but thanks to the Dragonflight, will make their way away. Gunter, though, pulled back in. The beads are just too late, and Connor left. So it's a shutdown and a little bit of a victory there. All three Phoenix is still down. It don't make this respawns any more difficult, though.
No, I was confused there why Gunter ran away from Connor, who was trying to get him out. He's a taxi that he's called for, but he's just still walking down the block, is what he's done there.
And then immediately gets tackled afterwards for not leaving. I can imagine, like, I get the idea where it's like landfall out of, you get yanked out of it by landfall.
Oh, yeah.
We didn't even do that. So now with the next fire giant, we are looking for the third one here, potentially, and it could be a game-ending one. Do Olympus bolts go for a potential fight at this fire giant? What are they looking at doing here?
I think they still have to just defend at the Phoenix lines, or even defend at the Titan. They can't come out and contest this fire giant. They're getting closer on experience now that level 20s have been hit by Niflheim Wargs near enough across the board. Fred's still just waiting for that final level to tick over. Gold difference is going to start to matter less and less as we see a full build come out from Gunter. Items going to be finished up everywhere. Gunter!
Alright, well, it's a fire giant on 4. Hedgehog's a beautiful little gank attempt down, watching as when Gunter was going to respawn. Now, though, Sega gets dunked in by Rapio. Connor immediately follows up with some great CC, and even though the cavalry charge comes out, the health bar's low enough to get them picked off immediately. So it's a 1-for-1 across the map. And though, unfortunately, one of these teams is currently sieging your base.
Yeah, I think they got the better of the trade. Yes, they lost their mid laner, but they still have their hunter, and Olympus bolts have lost a front liner here, and they're going to go for the other one straight away.
And with that ultimate comes through, Wild Hunt pushes everyone back. Big landfall to kill a couple of minions through. Ends up dropping the wall. Thought they might have kept that up to chokehold everyone, but instead, Olympus bolts are holding here in this Titan room, and a lot of that comes down to iPort, just from this Merlin damage, but even so, one of these days, someone is going to step up just too far, and Davey eats about half of their health already. You cannot ignore this Merlin. And notice, every time Merlin has been the last one alive, and Niflheim Wargs can't end because of it.
He's playing safe. There might be a question if he's playing a bit too safe, to the point where he can't follow up on the rest of his team, but then again, he's in this game, I'm casting it, so I'm not going to question it too much, a little bit. iPort's definitely the one to look out for here. Hedgehog 3-3 as well on the side, looking for a wrap around, but he could engage here straight away as Impox is dead.
A single wall leads to that death on a CC train of pain. This guy has a Magi's in the second slot for a reason here, and now Sega eats another whole load of damage from many ultimates coming through. The Titan is starting to take some damage here, but again, Niflheim Wargs don't feel super comfortable. They'll take the fight first, and the Titan's second Hedgehog ends up falling. And so with those two picks, it now means that no matter how much damage comes through, the Titan's going to take more, and Niflheim Wargs end this first game.
It wasn't iPort they were worried about, it was Hedgehog. They were waiting for him to go in, engage, and all of a sudden collapse on the backer, kill him, and then just walk in and end the game, lads. That's all we need to do at that point.
Very, very clean look from them. From minute 15 or before, since they got that fight, it was Fire Giant into Siege, into Fire Giant, into Siege, into Fire Giant, into End. Beautiful play coming through from the Niflheim Wargs here. And you mentioned this may be a draft difference for the Olympus Bolts. What do you take away from them?
Well, first of all, you take away two picks specifically. You take away the Horus, 1,000% take away the Horus. And I think you take away the Thor as well. I mean, as I've said before, it's one of Rapio's comfort picks. I mean, look at him. He's the only one who hasn't died this entire game, has been involved in 20 of the kills overall. Only iDavy's been involved in more. You have to get him off this pick onto something he's a little less comfortable with. And, you know, I have a look at the drafts, and it's one team has control of the airspace, the other one has no control over the airspace. Maybe start to match that a little bit. There's a reason why Global Ultimates are so revered and so powerful.
If they are going to do that, maybe you've got that idea of pulling over, giving Sega this Horus pick, maybe Impoc, if they want to go on something aggressive. As you mentioned, there was just what never felt like there was appeal potential. And as soon as Impoc went down, every fight was just, well, I guess we just have to go in and try something from the Bolts.
Yeah, I don't blame the fact that they almost fell apart in those fights after Impoc died, like you mentioned. I mean, Sega and Hedgehog, their job was simple. Dive, 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 dive. But Hedgehog, I always felt, with 9,000 damage on the Bakasura, second lowest on his team, behind the Guan Yu as well, I felt zero impact from him in his fights. I mean, yes, he got a couple of picks every now and then, but when it came to team fights, he was waiting for chances to go in, waiting for the opportunity to flank, and just waited and waited and waited rather than going in.
Yeah, and so for game number 2, as well as sort of those picks and things, I wonder whether or not we'll see Niflheim Wargs try and hammer home just keeping this draft as much as possible. Either way, we'll have to figure that out in game number 2. But before then, we're going to go ahead and get things set up, so we need a quick break.
I still remember how it used to be, holding hands, running wild and free. Crossed our hearts, said we'd never let go. I still think about our younger days, how we dreamed about a better life. Holding you so close to me, in the backseat of your ride. We fell apart, thought we lost everything, just lost in a memory. And I sure hope you do remember me like remember you.
I don't do this often, you caught me off guard. All of my friends said you moved out west. You tell me stories underneath sunsets. Could it be more than just one night? Kissing the cab ride, head turning left, right. Get a ticket for two to wherever you choose. Drinking some red out of the blue. You say my name with your accent, makes me remember how much I missed you. Hope you're planning to stay for a million days. You'll be my summer in December. Hey boy, trust my intuitions always. I'm not superstitious, I got lucky. Stole your heart and it was not for the taking. I'm bad at pretending, you know I'll be true.
Welcome back, SMITE fans. Game number 1 between Niflheim Wargs and Olympus Bolts ended in 26 minutes after a 15-minute fire giant led to just a dominating performance from the Niflheim Wargs for the rest of the game. Game number 2, we mentioned a little bit on the breakdown side of things. Bit of a draft difference here needed for the Olympus Bolts. And now we're going to have to see how they're really going to go ahead and take that here, AJ. You mentioned Thor is a problem. You mentioned control of global ults is a problem. But you look at what they banned away as well. It was Terrors, it was Yamojas. There was still a lot of gods that needed to be banned. So interesting to know, how do you reckon they could change this up?
I think going back to the draft, there's also one thing which I noted. They picked Mardicorus first, did the Wargs. Then the Bolts responded by picking up the Kernanos pretty much straight away. Oh, yes, there's a potential where they can both be picked up on one team, and one goes mid, one goes one goes mid, one goes ADC. But you still have the Ishtar available. You can still get another hunter like the AMC, so you can still match that a little bit. So you could pick up one Aphrodite yourself if you wanted to, or just deny them one of the stronger picks that you gave them.
Very true on that side of things. And let's go ahead and jump on in, if we can, please, production, to the picks and ban side of things. Change up already. Olympus Bolts are going to be the ones who take that first pick spot here. So could be a dangerous look if they do want to go ahead and grab just that Mardicorus. Whether or not the Wargs will let them have it.
We should see what responding bans they do. I mean, the Mardicorus has been taken away there by the Wargs straight away. I think that is a strong first ban. It's just a strong pick overall that we've been seeing. The Aphrodite's taken away, so they thought that Pred's Aphrodite was maybe a bit too much to deal with. I'm not so sure. I think Pred's on the Aphrodite had a solid average game, nothing too impactful, but nothing too weak. I would personally be looking again, like we mentioned, at that Thor and at that Horus.
It's always interesting to me who ends up banning what and where. It's Aphrodite banned second by the first pick team, and now the Thor, so Rapio is not getting the Thor again. But unfortunately, Wargs, I feel like the idea with this Neath ban is it's almost a throwaway ban, where it's like, we know you play it, but it's not hyper high priority. So now that Varman's taken off the table, there's still Hercules, Guan Yu, and as many junglers as you can name on the table.
And speaking of Hercules, that is going to be the pick and lock-in for the Olympus Bolts. I mean, leaving open Marty. The Marty's been banned. You're leaving open the Kernanos, leaving open the Ishtar. Like you mentioned, Robson Moja is going to be available as well for your support roles. Guan Yu still up for the Wargs. I think they might take that third if they're looking for something, though. Could take that second to deny the Hercules Guan Yu double frontline.
Looks like that's what they're going to go for here. And with that Ishtar pick, there is still that scary thought in the back of the mind as to whether or not this could be a double Hunter comp. But Bolts looking to answer back here. They've got their strong solo laner coming through with the Hercules.
Oh.
And Ao Kwong Hover this early on. Okay, Hedgehogs. Let's see what you can do here.
This is a statement pick here from the Olympus Bolts there. I like the Horus. Take that Horus right now, straight away. Love it. You can flex pick the Hercules and the Horus to where you want them to go. I like that a lot. Ao Kwong gives you magical damage in the jungle, which is kind of a rarity these days with Hebo being constantly banned. I don't like it this early on. I think you could have saved it. I don't think Ao Kwong is a pick that necessarily gets banned a lot. Because he has the potential to counterpick it now. You have the potential to play around it now if you're the Niflheim Wargs.
I'm almost thinking maybe you still want to go ahead, grab like a Khepri, grab a Nox if you want to go for that kind of situation. They will go ahead and take this Nox. And now, if anyone's going on, if Ao Kwong's going on anyone, silence bubble around him. No ult, no threat, no worries.
Yeah, he's going to have to expend beads to be able to then use his ultimate, which is it feels horrible when you have to do that. Like, oh, I need 2 beads to ult away to survive to get this kill. Oh, that's... don't use it to get myself to safety when I absolutely need to. There is Nami, it's going to be locked away. The back of Sora.
Okay.
I like that as a counterban. It is a good counterban to the Ao Kwong. Double Hunter ban from Wargs, though, so they're really going to have to dig deep in the pockets of the Hunter God pool here under Olympus Bolts.
Could very well be. I wouldn't know whether or not we'll see. There it is, Circuit. Mentioned yesterday when Ice was playing against this Circuit, how Ao Kwong kind of has a bit of an iffy matchup sometimes, so that's taken off the table. But Fenrir was the last ban that Bolts took before. Still looking for a mid lane. Wargs will go ahead and go for the Agni here.
Agni, I think, has a really good matchup against the Ao Kwong, especially early on. Ao Kwong wants to try and get himself invisible early, especially if he's trying to get away. Agni's burn that he applies means that he just can't do that. I mean, that's a similar reason why Darji is really good against, your Lokis, your Ao Kwongs, just stops that invisibility from really being a thing. The Baba Yaga pickup here from the Bolts, I think that's a very strong pick there. I think Baba Yaga is criminally underrated right now in mid lane.
And with the option from those from the House Juice to be able to just stack up that prophetic cloak so well, she can be incredibly tanky, incredibly quickly in the game. But it's going to be a Ram here to go ahead and face up into the Ishtar. That's a matchup that feels like this is a last resort going back to a Ram.
It's a safe, tried, true, tested pick. It is like you mentioned, it is the fallback pick of all fallback picks for Hunters. If you're playing KDC at a professional level or a semi-pro level, you can play Ram week in, week out, be absolutely fine with it. That is what this pick is. But I look at Baba Yaga and Ram, and without the house coming out from Baba Yaga, there isn't really too much appeal between them two yet again. Once you have a look at the Ishtar Agni from the Niflheim Wargs, you have a backflip root stun coming out from Ishtar, you have a Mez, you have a stun coming out from Agni as well. Those two can peel for each other a lot better than the Bolts can as well, which was a big talking point in Game 1.
And now you've got that Susano to go ahead and dive on through with the Guan Yu. You've got a Nox who can travel in both of those two to go ahead and drive on into the backline or sit back and peel if they feel the need to. But last game, Susano, or Thor, sorry, with Rapio, kind of ran the game. Let's see whether or not the Susano can do the same thing here. Game number 2, Bolts looking to stay on in to fight for their first win. Wargs looking to go ahead and make that statement of, we are vying for number 1 here. And it is going to go ahead and be the Horus who is taking that support role here. Hercules for the jungle. Oh, the solo, excuse me.
Yeah, I was about to say, Hercules Jungle, that'll be a very interesting choice there, putting the Ao Kwong in a solo lane against the Guan Yu. That is a recipe for disaster to put that matchup in that sort of scenario, but it's all where we expected everybody to be playing and everybody to be starting. Hedgehog is going to be the one as the jungler to take the speed buff over this time. He's actually going to be taking it straight over to the red. No, just getting it as close to lane as possible.
All right. Just using those cooldowns while they can, and it's like those little min-max things you can do. If I could pull it while waiting for my cooldown, it's all good. And again, just throwing it out here. Too much we've seen a difference or anything between these two lanes, but the big lane difference here entirely new gods here for both of these two teams here, and already you can see Wargs get the better end of this. Jockin forced to beads at level 1 just to be able to get to safety.
I mean, I don't know if he actually needed to beats there as well. That's a little bit of panic, I think, coming out from Jockin there. Yes, he would have taken a fair bit of damage, but he has potions. He's got himself his Hunter's Cowl, his Tier 1 demos. He has a lot of sustain, which can't be same set for Sega at this point, as he's looking with 1 potion remaining.
It's been a not too bad look for the Niflheim Wargs in this solo lane. Connor seems to have just gotten the better of Sega regardless of the god and regardless of the matchup here. So already Sega, look at that damage output. Forced to back away, forced out of pots. Connor will happily sit there at this point as, again, this duo lane, now without those beads, both these junglers are looking to make a rotation.
Yeah, Hedgehog spotting out the Rapio rotation and pinging it out to his team, thinking, hang on, guys, don't go aggressive just yet, I'm on my way. But Preds and Davey with the wrap around, who are they looking for? They can't get anybody just yet, but there's the curse.
That's going to be a problem for them. Beads forced out immediately, and the silence body blocks! Rapio picks up first blood onto the Alquan.
And again, it's just gone from bad to worse there for the Olympus Bolt, Niflheim Wargs off to a flyer already here in game number 1, 500 gold ahead. I didn't pick up on that, actually. Fred's buying into the, buying into what was formerly known as Curse there. It's the one that just gives you a lot of, yes, the one that gives you a lot of slows available.
And that's just more CC on top of more CC. If you can't land the route, maybe they won't be able to walk out of it in time. And look at where Praise is standing. They're freezing the wave out here.
There's nothing that Impox and Yoki can do about this. There legitimately is nothing they can do. If they engage, they die. I mean, Yoki doesn't have beads, so he gets engaged on very easily. And look at the relics available. Pred still has his cooldown shard available. Nothing up for Impox. Beads has so much down for Yokin. Beads and wing shard available there for Davey. It is suicide for them to engage there.
We saw a little bit of an attempt at another invade here coming through from Hedgehogs, but this time not on the Bakasaurus, so no such luck. Preds is solo trying to steal away this farm. Will pop their shard here to see if they can get some more cooldowns for it, but CC is not going to matter. They actually just shadow step through. That's the dash, so could be in trouble, but no, they're fine at this point. We're back to double jungle at this point, with how the Niflheim Wargs are playing this aggressively.
I mean, you say he's dashed in, they've used his dash, he's going to be a bit of trouble, but it's Nox. When is Nox ever in trouble having dashed in early, okay? Please tell me when support Nox has ever been in trouble for dashing in early.
It's wishful thinking, okay? I want to see
it
punished.
It's wishful thinking. I want it punished as well. I want this Nox out the game completely. I campaigned for Nox to be removed, okay?
First you got Preds on the Aphrodite, who you immediately say I don't want in the lane. Now you got the Nox. You can't win today. It's just not your day, is it, AJ?
Can we just, like, make this a 5 versus 4? Just kick Preds out the game completely, just for picking these picks? Is there some form of punishment we can do retroactively for him for these picks?
I don't know. You'll have to ask with admin on that side of things to figure that one out, but looking over back towards the solo lane, Sega does have a little bit of a lead right now over Connor, just about maybe half a level. Rapio is back on over this side of the map, pulls back on into the silence field, and with the ultimate, Davey has more than enough CC to pick off Impok again. And this is sealing a lot like the first sort of minutes of game number 1 here, AJ.
The only difference being is that the Olympus Bolts aren't 2,000 gold behind. They're still only about 500 gold behind, so farming up quite well. Not letting the disappointments of dual lane get to them too much. Gunter, low. Gunter being ganked.
Gunter might be in trouble. Out comes the ultimate. Will not beat that. I like that from Gunter, recognizing I made a mistake and thus shall be punished for it. At least someone gets punished for a mistake they make at this point, but at this point in time, Olympus Bolts finding themselves one pick is good, and it does go on to the Ao Kwong, even if it costs them the ultimate.
You want to know how lucky iPort was in that entire play?
How lucky?
The oval was a silence oval, and Gunter dashed into it.
Oh, goodness. It's a 1 in 4. That's the 1 in 4. We'll argue that the shape don't matter, but yeah, the 1 in 4
like the
for the
shape,
silence,
the shape did matter.
Oh, did it?
So,
that's a 1 in 16 then.
He was stood right in the middle of the circle, knowing that if he tried to dash in from any angle, it was going to be silenced out. It was a beautiful play from iPod to recognize the RNG that he got at that scenario.
Very nice. So look at that. Permanent silences on the ground are incredibly strong, and Gunter happy to know that the Nox is not against them. So we'll just be only facing one potential problem here, but that's a good point, actually. Both Nox and this Horus have sat themselves in the duo lane here. Usually we see members start rotating out at this point.
I think they just want to extend laning phase a little bit more. If you're Niflheim Wargs, you found success with ganks early on, so just keep that going. If you're Olympus Bolts, you want to keep Yokin safe until he gets, you know, a couple of items online maybe, because Rom, early game, isn't the strongest. He needs to get to level 9, so his Hedgehog gets ganked here.
Alright, well Davey manages to secure the buff as well. Hedgehog's popped a lot of shards here and is just going to go ahead and try and Benny heal as far away as they can. Gunter will go ahead and return the favor from earlier, expending all 3 bombs to find him. But it's Agni, so those bombs will be up pretty shortly, especially with that 20% CDR.
Yep, gets a kill, so already getting 6 seconds off the first cooldown there. So that is absolutely fine for him. He is living the dream here. I like the fact that Hedgehog has gone into the Doom Orb, though. It is an item that is almost necessary for the Zhao Guang jungle to function. A lot of power, good movement speed as well to get him around the map. Oh, Yokin dashes away in time.
Just about. And again, I think this is what you mentioned about how Niflheim Wargs saw early success with ganks, so they're going for these kind of ganks. As right now, Baba Yaga tries to start up a little bit of extra farm for themselves, just grabbing that, but no rotations for now. It looks like just going to be going for this gold buff, but that's the Rom ult, so I wouldn't be surprised if Rapio comes back here in a moment or two.
Well, it's going to have to go back to base first, or at least go to the jungle to farm up. Davey getting aggressed on. There's the shield buff completely gone. I like that play from Yokin. Go aggressive, take away the shield buff, and make it all for naught. Youngbox tries to dash. He tries to dash through a silence field. You can't do that, buddy.
That hurts.
You're not that guy.
That hurts. I mean, only if he had some CC immunity, but with the blink option available to them, they'd have to blink over it instead. You do see a Hedgehog make a small rotation over towards Sega, who at this point has kind of weathered the storm of the early aggression from Connor, but even so, both these two solo laners, I feel like almost once they get out of the laning phase, they're going to just rotate immediately.
Oh yeah, these two solo laners are aggressive, hungry for kills and hungry for fights. So you say, what's Gordon you good at? Team fights, diving. What's Hercules good at? Being an annoying little so-and-so to my frontliners and backliners to the point where we can't kill him. That's what he's good at.
Oh, Jokin tries to go ahead and save their own buff. Unfortunately, will not be able to do so. Chases away Davey, and Preds will happily just offer some support here. And at this point in time, it's only that 700 gold lead, so I feel like Olympus Bolts are definitely doing something better this game. Is it just that they're not fighting as much?
They're not fighting as much, they're also farming up a little bit better. They're getting camps when they should be getting them on cooldown. Guns are a bit low as well. I mean, it's also they've stemmed the bleeding in solo lane. Though he's not behind Sega where he was before, because they had 2 lanes that were in trouble before, which also then went onto the mid lane, as Sega forced his ultimate to get CC immunity.
Though with that health bar a little bit lower than I think they'd like, Rapio is sniffing this one out. Connor might be in some trouble with that push-pull, but it's almost baited at this point, so Rapio shows up. Sega, though, should be comfortable under tower here. Rapio not going to go ahead and dive that one. I've just also as well had a quick peek down at the graphs. While everything may be even in parity on gold, have a peek at those support levels for me, AJ.
Oh, that is... Oh my... The XP per minute has been pointed out as well by our production. 235 experience per minute. That is close to base level experience per minute, I believe. I mean, he's going to have to get some support here from this gank on Davey, but that's going to give him nothing as they don't get the kill.
Unfortunate there. You remember how you said you wanted to see this be a 4v5 and just remove a player from the game? I think admin got the wrong support here, because Impox kind of, like you said, it feels like it's base base XP per minute here. I don't know where they've been to not get any farm.
They've just been roaming around the jungle trying to find something, and there's just been nothing for him to get. I mean, granted, if anybody apart from Preds kills him, it's for nothing. Maybe that's the entire play, to make him so worthless to kill that they just ignore him.
That's such a brilliant play. It goes, it goes from being so bad, it loops back around, breaks physics, and comes back up to. That's brilliant. That's what Kaizo means by the metaphysics of Smite. As Rapio finally gets that pick onto Sega. Now, though, Davey in a little bit of duress. Rocking and dumps up forward. Hedgehog finds Preds over in the jungle, but Davey can't find the snipes. It seems like Olympus Bolts, they've just woken up, because with that pick, they're the ones looking for Gold Fury now.
Yeah, I like that idea. Get rid of Preds. They know that Rapio was over on the right-hand side, so he's not going to be able to do this Gold Fury. Davey got aggressed out there. Some beautiful play by Yokin. Olympus Bolts back in the game. They have evened things up here.
And it's XP for this Horus, so
huge XP!
Beautiful play. Huge! He's level 7 now! It's still a 3-level difference, but it's not getting worse. That, I think, is the important point. And
they don't want to give it too much, otherwise it ruins the plan. That's the thing. They can't get too far ahead.
True, very true here, as Niflheim Wargs now find themselves the Pyromancer as a consolation prize, but Rapio, again this build, Hydra's Lament straight after Transcendence, the burst potential on this man's is disgusting.
It's what you do when you are Susano. Don't forget, though, he was never designed to 100 to 0 somebody. He could only do 95% of your health. Don't you do that.
Don't you do that. Don't remind me of the days where Susano could Hydra's proc every instance of his one. Don't do that to me.
He's only designed to help bring you down for somebody else to kill. He can't kill you himself, don't worry.
Yeah, exactly. See, look at this. He's here to help Preds kill hedgehogs. I mean, he gets the kill anyway because he's a disgusting solo laner who steals kills. But now with the Horus through the skies, they brought some backup here and turned this 3v1 to a 3v3. And so Connor will go ahead and dash away from this one. Rapio, under half health, could not turn this one around, even if they wanted to, as Davey gets the upper hand in a 1v1.
Lovely solo kill. That's some retribution there for Davey. He's been... Honestly, I've been impressed with Yokin's aggression so far this game. And that's been one thing which has changed. That's a lot of damage as well. But Davey just bringing the status quo back there with a nice solo kill, putting Yokin back in his place.
Very much so here. And you mentioned it's retribution for him. I have a feeling that the ult may have played some small part in that.
Hey.
So good luck for them as 2,000 gold on the Niflheim Wargs in the lead, but no major objective on the map to fight for right now. So what is the Wargs' game plan here after these kills?
The Wargs... I mean, right now, they're not far enough ahead to do a Fire Giant like they were in the last game. The Pyromancer and the Gold Fury are both down. Tier 1 towers are down in mid and in... Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's just a full 100 to 0 at this point, but there's not enough damage. Shocking gets to live.
He's not designed 100 to 0.
He didn't do it. He didn't do it. He lived up to the design.
There we go. But, see, everybody, you can stop complaining about him now.
Davey got baited by the low health bar. Now the Horus and the Baba Yaga coming through. Pred's just about able to provide some CC. They'll get home sweet home out, and that buys Davey enough time.
Oh. Solo lane is probably where Niflheim Wargs will have to look next for any form of objective because of that tower. I'm thinking that's where they might go, actually.
What? All right. Well, that was a very interesting use of the ult there from Rom. 100% sure the reasoning may have been just to make sure Preds doesn't go on them. But now Gold Fury is coming up soon. So I wonder whether or not both these teams want to set up for it. Hedgehog's trying to just poke out, but Preds is more than happy enough to sit back in Davey to get him away.
Well, Gold Fury are going to be spawning up in about... Oh, we can see from the top left. 40 seconds is when we're going to see the next iteration of that objective. It's going to be the Primal Fury. So this one means that you're going to be able to do more objective damage to the Fire Giant, to the Pyromancer, and to any other jungle creeps lying around in your jungle. So this is where the Niflheim Wargs will have to start making the play and start extending their lead and showing why they are worthy of a 2-0 here.
Well, talking about 2-0 at this point, there's a 0 in the ones column for the Horus and a 2 in the ones column for Pred. So they've closed that level lead a little bit here, and the unfortunate thing is that level 12 is a second relic right now as Connor getting heavily aggressed on here by this Ao Guang. They're going to keep this dive going a little bit, but with the ult available, they can't commit too heavily. So instead, with that known, Niflheim Wargs, they're the ones who start up this fury. There are members around, but Davies going ahead and trying to find Joking. Aegis are forced, and it's just a full-on engage for them. Rapio credited with the kill, and the team credited with the kill on the fury.
Yeah, just keep Gunter on that objective. He's level 16 right now on this active. Highest level in the game. He is farming up. He's more than a level per minute at this point. I don't think he's going to get level 20 in 20. That is beyond the capabilities of Gunter right now with this game the way it is. But instead, it's going to be Pyromancer started up here. Again by the Niflheim Wargs. Davey rotating out of this lane for the first time. Huge 35 crits coming out.
Hey, it's 35 extra damage that you're doing. Every crit matters, especially when your first crit item is that Demon Blade.
I still remember the times when, Fail Not first came out, and people were experimenting with the lowest crit they could probably do. Nene Kappa with an 8 crit. And that was my favorite clip ever.
Crit. That's the best crit in all of existence. The 8 heard around the world. As you can see now, Hedgehogs has been looking to try and gank out Davey, but unfortunately no such luck. Rapio coming back from base here. Impok, that was what, 3 basic attacks, and he ends up at half health. This man is not tanky.
I think if the root hits there from Preds into the Silence Field, Impok's is dead there from Davey's basic attacks. He is 100% just gone.
Alright, well Preds goes ahead and slows out, costs them their Magi's bubble for now. But even so, Impok is able to get the Protector's Surge away. iPorts located themselves into the jungle. So this might be a 3v3, but I don't think Olympus Bolts want this one.
No, they're still gesturing for a defense in case it absolutely needs to happen. Impok's going to avoid the route yet again. Preds just off the mark this game with most of them.
Unfortunate situation, but look at this. Rapio and Gunter have found the mid 2v2, and in a result, Gunter just rains down fire and picks up a double kill. Both the duo lane from Olympus Bolts are forced to disengage, and now with the rotation from Connor, they've got some more gas in the tank to push down this tier 2 tower.
Well, Gold Fury into tier 2, into good fight, into double kill. It is just all going Niflheim Wargs' way yet again. Reminiscent of game number 1, but the fact it took him 10 minutes later to do what they were needed to do.
Well, they're going back for another Phoenix here. Sega is around. Now comes the Night Terror. Gunter's picked and pushed up, but should be able to disengage. Instead, they're just going to go aggressive on Jokin and pick him off. Phoenix is also falling in the back line because Davy's just able to do what Hunters do best. And now Sega's pushing and pulling members for Hedge to try and find. They will pick up Gunter at the very least, but it is a 2 for 2 and a Phoenix for the Wargs.
Extend the lead a little bit more and run away. That's all they can really do here. The remaining Niflheim Warg members of Davey, Connor, and Rapio. Unfortunately, did lose Gunter and Preds. I mean, the Gunter pickup was huge for the Olympus Bolts. I think you can see where they got that kill, actually. You see that little spike up into the blue? That is the kill on Gunter, 1000%. That was worth about a Phoenix for them, actually.
Well, now, though, this is an aggressive play from the Bolts here. Knowing that Wargs are trying to back on up, they'll go ahead and try and burn this one down. Hedgehog's got Polynomicon to try and help with this, but Connor's here, and the DPS just can't be enough. So instead, they're going to back this one up, and Rapio, from the right-hand side, takes down Hedgehogs. Rapio grabs themselves a double kill here, and now with Into the Skies bringing in more fodder for the meat grinder. Davey goes ahead and picks up Jokin. This has gone horribly wrong for the Bolts.
I like the idea. I like the thought. The execution just wasn't there. Mainly because Jokin was very slow on rotating today. You need your ADC to be able to do these objectives, and he just wasn't available. And the Olympus Bolts, from what was a smart idea in trying to take the objective whilst the Niflheim Wargs were down, and are punished for it.
Unfortunate there, and Sega now, once again, trying to just waste as much of this time. Will run this way as far as they can. Gunter should be able to pick this one up with the bomb, and so that does. And now Fire Giant in tow. They've already taken the left side Phoenix here. Wargs with an 8,000 gold lead. Looking to extend that one a little further with these towers.
Yeah, it's going to be a tier 2 in mid laners, looking like where they might be going next. Tier 1 on this right-hand side is going to fall down just to Connor alone. Although with Davy's pathing, he might be gesturing over towards his tier 2 on right-hand side instead.
It's going to be interesting. Usually we see teams kind of already group up and swarm a lane. At this point, Wargs just look like they're looking for a pick, but it is going to be this right-hand side, like you mentioned. Everyone ends up coalescing. Rapio on the left side right now looking for picks.
All right, I was wrong. Gun to hit level 20 before 20 minutes.
My goodness. That's
And
gross.
Rapio,
Also,
I think,
Rapio's
was
up
very
there.
close. Yeah, Rapio, I think,
Looking-
also just about hit it.
Ooh, Sega. Thank goodness for mitigate wounds there as Horus into the skies will be defensively placing behind the
Okay.
Phoenix because this Horus just does not have the tankiness to withstand it. All 5 members are here, and I want to know what's the game plan going to be because it's a route on Sega and the health bar's just gone.
What the plan is, Yokin dies to the ever-present Rapio, and Stage can walk in and take the Phoenix for free, and I put falls down
Is
as
that
well for a
game?
double. It might
That
very
could
well
just
be.
be game here because that's the Horus gone, the front line's gone, the damage dealers are gone, and this Titan is under duress. It's just the solo and jungler left to survive, and they're being pelted by damage here. 21 minutes in, and that Titan will fall. 21-26 on the clock. That might just be the fastest game we have seen here in the SCC, AJ.
Definitely in Europe. I think there may have been a quick one over in NA, which I was part of a couple of weeks ago, but definitely for Europe, 100% the quickest game. And it's rather surprising given that one was more competitive than the first game, which was a complete snowball for 25 minutes.
Very nice play there. I think for me, the big one is that last Phoenix siege kind of just compounded into compounded. All right, through the Horus is not tanky enough, can't go in. Sega gets poked out, and then everything just explodes. Not even like an imploding fall of like House of Cards. You knock one, they all fall over. They just batted the whole thing clean out of the room.
Yeah, they didn't just flip the cards. They flipped the entire table. They flipped the entire room even. Because they just walked into that base without a care in the world. Rapio undying this entire set. In fact, I think both games he
Gross.
got 8 kills. So
He did.
Rapio, yeah, he's done well this set. I think he's proven himself as a top tier SCC jungler here.
And the Rapio rapidly bringing the Niflheim Wargs up in the standings there. That is their second win here, and definitely putting themselves in a good position to look for that second place. Hell, even first place. I am so looking forward to seeing Niflheim Wargs versus the Mambo here at this point, because that, to me, is all about the junglers. And we can see here from, even with Hedgehog's look on things, it felt like they just couldn't quite find enough footing this game.
No, they found themselves a good early game, I felt. They found themselves a nice objective on that Gold Fury, even things in fact were ahead for a tiny bit in that game. But they just never found any success in team fights, and that could be a draft issue, it could be a communication issue, it could be just a team-based issue. That's something they're going to have to work on, the fact that their team fights just are subpar for the SCC level.
It is unfortunate for them, and hopefully we will be able to see them in week 4 go ahead and shave off some of these slightly awkward things that they've been having, but that is going to be for week 4. We're still in week 3 right now, and unfortunately with that is going to end off the EU side of things here for week 3. Don't forget we do have some of that a little bit later on as well with the NA side of things to round out after the SPL, but before that we've got SPL to get ready for, so we're going to go ahead and peach it here. Enjoy the SPL.